We are live.
We are
Investments here. John Plumstead here with my favorite acquisition manager in the world, Mr. Adam Peter Parsons. Adam Peter Parsons. Adam Peter, because is that still your Instagram handle?
Parsons0927 is my Instagram handle. If we're plugging this early.
What didn't it used to be Adam P. Parsons, or was that Twitter or something? I feel like that used to be.
Yeah, that's my Twitter account.
Big time, man. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Adam?
Yeah, today we are going to go over how to comp properties fairly quickly in 2021.
Nice. So what does it mean to comp properties? Why are we doing this video? What's up with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So in acquisitions, all the deals come through us, so we have to find out its worth and how much the property is worth compared to the surrounding properties in its area, and what we can offer for it, and what's a reasonable price to offer. So we have to know our starting point. In order to get our starting point, we have to know the ARV, the after repair value of the property.
Gotcha. So we'll use ARV in this video. Just know that means after repair value, which just means, hey, if this was fixed up, what would it sell at? And then our business model, everyone has their own strategy, but our business model is to figure out what a property is worth and then try to buy at a discount, right? So if we screw this number up, if we screw the ARV up, our business, goes to crap. Everything falls apart if we screw up this after repair value. So it's critical. So how do we make sure that we don't screw this up, Adam?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. We can use PropStream, which that's like our number one platform to comp all the properties. So we use PropStream, and then when in doubt, ask a buddy to also comp the property. I use John a lot to help comp properties when I'm kind of stuck and it might be a area where there's some highs and there's some lows, and we got to find the right price.
So before we get into PropStream, and I know you're going to share your screen, but give me an overview. How do you comp a property, right? Like, I imagine you just look like, hey, what's the property to the right? What's the property to the left? What did those sell for? And that's what my house is going to sell for, right? Because if I'm an average homeowner, I'm like, hey, Mr. Smith sold his house for $150K, so I think mine's a little nicer. Mine should go for $150K too. But talk through our process a little.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we use PropStream, and then we try to get the vicinity. We use the 0.3 miles. We want to use something close proximity, and then we like to use the same subdivision when possible. So subdivisions can change in value. Obviously, the subdivision across the road can be significantly more, especially in some of our markets than the one you're currently in. And then we like to go by square footage. We usually do 300 plus or minus the square footage of the home that we are currently comping. And outside of that, we're focused on, we do look at the bathrooms and beds, although, when we're quickly comping properties, that's not too significant, but we want to make sure, generally the properties we're comping in are similar style homes. So if the home we're comping at is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and all the, comps in the vicinity are 4 bedrooms, 2-bath, it could drag down the value a little bit. Some other notes are to look for commercial areas and major roads on the property as well, because we found in the past that can also drag the value of the ARV down. So those are some off the bat, what we look at outside of trying to get pictures. Pictures are really helpful when it comes to getting a good number on a comp.
So we use PropStream, and we're going to go over PropStream and how we use the comp properties here in a second. But what if you don't want to pay for PropStream? You're just getting started. You're just using Zillow. Two questions here, right? Can you comp off Zillow? And then can I just use the Zestimate, right? Is the Zestimate an accurate number?
Yeah, so the answer is yes, you can comp off of Zillow. And when we initially started wholesaling and we didn't really have access to PropStream at the time, we used Zillow. So yes, Zillow you can use. And then the Zestimate, it's a decent number. I have found like it definitely be off like majority of the time, but if you don't have access to PropStream, use Zillow and then look at comparables in the area. And then you're looking for properties that have recently sold in the area as well if you're using Zillow.
Gotcha. And so let's dig into this estimate just for a second, though. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've comped 1,000 properties, but it's definitely hundreds and probably pretty close to 1,000, right? And we look at this estimate quite often. Investors will, you could have the most sophisticated investor and they still end up just looking at Zillow and being like, oh, well, this is the Zillow price, right? But all the work we put into comps, when you say it's not really accurate or it can be off, are we talking like on average it's $1,000 off, on average it's $10,000 plus or minus? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, one, I love when the Zillow price is off. I love when the Zillow price is lower than what the actual comp is in that area. It like just gives me more ammo because most people we're talking to, they just know the Zillow price, right? And they think that's their worth because that's what they know. But if we're talking about how much on average it's off, like it really does vary. I know like when I'm significantly high or significantly low, that's when I get my counterpart like yourself in and, have you comp the property.
Gotcha. So, would you say on average it's within $10,000 plus or minus for say $150,000 house?
Yeah, exactly. 10,000, super reasonable. And like I said, when you're first starting, like 10,000 isn't significant. When you're trying to get the property at that super discounted price, you have some wiggle room to get started.
Gotcha. And then we talk about the difference between an art and a science, right? Like, is comping properties a science or is it an art? Is it a balance? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it is definitely a balance. So there's definitely some science when you're looking at all the numbers. But then, like when you're trying to get really strategic, like it can definitely be an art as well. Not everybody can do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's tricky. Okay, let's get into PropStream. Let's have you pull it up. We didn't prep this beforehand, so I'm going to go to just me for a second. Adam, you get your screen pulled up, and I will do our mid-live commercial, which is if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and smash that like button, comment, tag a friend, whatever. I think smashing the like button, smashing your goals. I've been saying that word way too much lately, but please go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you're liking this. We would really appreciate it. We said that yesterday in the live videos and we got a lot more views, so we really appreciate it. Looking at Adam here, like, hey, we pulling up that PropStream screen.
We're pulling it up.
I only got so much filler information here, man.
Okay, I'm trying to give StreamYard all the. All right,
looks like we're close. Yep, let's go ahead and bring it up. Okay, now we got both of us and we got PropStream. Hopefully people can see that. I think that's our best view. Okay, so tell me about the first property we're gonna do here.
Okay, first property is going to be 2604 Big Leaf Drive. This holds a special part in my heart because it's actually my first deal I did when I started wholesaling as the acquisitions manager with Gray Line Investments. So pretty awesome property here. We got it at a good price and we were able to turn around and sell the property as well. So
from my view, I'm having a hard time seeing the specifics. Is this in Killeen?
Yes. Yeah, this is in Killeen, Texas. Initially, we focused with what we knew, and that was military communities, Fort Hood being a huge military community, of course. So Killeen, Texas, this property was in. So At the surface.
Let's go right to the sexy part, right? So like if you get to this part, like let's go step by step. Like, you get this address and you have to comp the property. Talk me through just how you're going to do this, in what order and how you look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, I grab the qualified lead from my CRM dashboard and I plug it into PropStream up here at the search. Unique thing about PropStream, if you add the full drive, DRIVE in there, like it won't pull up the property. I just found that out the other day, actually. So that's a fun fact. But you'll come down to, once the property is in there, you're going to come over to details. And something else to say about this page, I love when the map shows all these pings like this. It just tells me like, hey, it's not out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to have some comparables, and this shouldn't be a headache because it does look like it's also in a subdivision as well.
No, I love that. We've done a bunch of investing. There's Clarksville, Tennessee, and then there's Nashville, right? And I forget that city, but there's a bunch of area between Clarksville and Nashville where we've had a bunch of deals come through. And comping those properties are the hardest comp properties in the world. It feels like the comp. You remember what that city was called?
No, I don't know the city there, but definitely Clarksville area, Fort Campbell area. There's tough out there.
I feel like it was called Ashland.
Ashland. Yep. Yeah, that would be the area.
It was tough. Yeah, so it makes it much easier when it's a neighborhood, it's a suburb where all the houses were built within a couple of years. They all look the same. Makes it a lot easier. But okay, so we get on this screen. Where do we go from here, Adam?
Yeah, so here there's a few things right off the bat I'm looking for, right? I'm looking at the square footage, the beds and bath here. This is actually a 4-bed, 2-bath. And again, if some of the information is not here, you'll be able to find it on. You'll likely be able to find it on Zillow as well. So I always use Zillow as like a kind of like a sounding board if I've got my azimuth going in the right direction. Another thing I like is just I like things that are going up. It just tells me like, hey, this the homes in this area are appreciating more than likely. And then I try to look at the estimated mortgage balance and then the last prior sale as well. Those are just some of the things I look at right away.
One important point I want to make here is there is a PropStream Zestimate, if you will, right? There's an appropriate value, just like Zillow uses their Zestimate. There's a number right here, if you could highlight it for me, Adam, where like they try to guess the value of the property. And I've told some people, hey, we use PropStream to comp properties. And some people just look at that number. They think that's what I mean. But do we use that number? Is that number accurate? How do you look at that, Adam?
I do not use that number. I know some people do. I'm in the PropStream forums and so forth, and there's a lot of people that use this number. Using this number is like using the Zillow number, though, in my eyes.
All right, so we got that. Let's find some comps here. How do we actually get in there and do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to come down to the comparables and nearby listings. You can check both. And in some areas, again, like there are some states where they don't have to list the MLS prices here. I think that's right.
So the MLS data, it just depends on the area whether PropStream can get the MLS data or not. But then the public records, it depends if it's a non-disclosure state or not. Texas is a non-disclosure state. So if we go to public records, there's sale values for all those properties, but they're estimated. They're not exact because that value is hidden in the public record. So in Texas, we got to use MLS. And then depending on your area, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you may not be able to get MLS data on PropStream. But it depends on the market whether you use public records or MLS. Generally, we use public records as long as it's not a non-disclosure state. In Texas, we got to use MLS. So, all right, so we're using MLS here. We got a bunch of comps. Now what?
Yeah, Absolutely. So date range, I like to keep it within the year as well. So I go a year back, and if I can't find anything, I'll go another year back, and I'll just keep going back until I find some comps that are worthy enough to compare it to. All right, but I also want to take note on like how far back it was and so forth. Square footage. Yeah.
One point I'd make about the time frame is a lot of people recommend like the last 3 months, the last 6 months, right? Now, I think you do have to only go back 3 to 6 months if you're in a super hot market, right? Like if you're in Seattle, San Francisco, New York City, like those markets are going to have big fluctuations. So you're going to have very recent sales. Most of the markets we're in are what we call boring markets, right? Like they appreciate, they're solid appreciation markets, but it's slow appreciation. So for us, going back 12 months is no problem for us. In a lot of markets, going back, 2 years, 3 years really isn't that much of a problem either.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, once we find our date range, we're gonna focus on the square footage. Like I said, I like to do plus and minus 300. PropStream does a fairly good job at keeping it in that ballpark, so I don't change these numbers. I try to quickly comp a property as an acquisitions manager. I can be comping 25, 30 properties a day by myself. So it's nice to just kind of like leave these numbers alone as long as they're close to our square footage. And then the distance, you want to narrow this in. They default it to a half a mile. We're going to put it at 0.3. Go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to bring up all the properties that are within that vicinity of the property. Now, next thing to note here is when we got the information over here to the left that we want to compare it to, I like to come right away over to the subdivision and kind of weed out the outliers that don't need to be in the comp, which, here it's going to be South Meadows, some Roberts Edition, some South Meadows again. And the great thing here is you can see all these. Another thing is all these comps are super in the right ballpark, right? I wouldn't need a friend to bounce my comp off of, just because these comps are so close and close to you.
It looks like you're not going off sale value, you're going off price per square foot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we go by price per square foot for the after repair value.
Okay, so it looks like what do you have there? Was that 7 properties with a check mark? Are you going to use all 7 of those to figure out the average, or how do you look at that?
No, I actually like to look at the pictures when I have 7 like this, but when I'm quickly comping, like if you look at the average sale price, you did bring this into play here, is all these are right around, 140. So it's safe to say that this house is valued at 140. I have to look at the square footage, but again, we're in the same subdivision. The houses are probably fairly cookie cutter like, and the square footage, really, it's in the same ballpark as well. Our house is actually bigger than all the others as well. So we got to take that into consideration. Just because it's the biggest house in the subdivision doesn't mean you're going to get the biggest bang. But yeah.
Gotcha. So let's real quick, give me what your average price per square foot is there, and let's multiply it by the square footage of this house to get a price, and then let's look at Zillow real quick and see how we compare. So what's our average price per square foot on this thing?
Yeah, so the average price per square foot is $80. All right. I always just round to I always round down no matter what. So I take 80 times the square footage.
What is that?
And that's actually going to be 150,000. And like I said, like, that's a $10,000 difference between the average. And it really comes down to is our house is relatively the biggest. I see a 1,900 square foot here that we have in the comp as well. And they sold at 140. So yeah.
If we got it, we just comped it at 150, but we see that a lot of the other houses are at 140. So maybe the number we put in our CRM is 145, right? But can you open a new tab and copy and paste this address in there and go to Zillow real quick, and let's see what Zillow had it at.
Yeah, absolutely. Boom, 155. So it's probably fairly accurate. Conservatively, you could go down to 140, 145. 150 is probably accurate on this property.
Nice, cool. I like it. Let's knock out one more, and then I think we'll wrap it up. So you got another property for me?
Yep. All right, so our next property we're going to go on to is the 3723 Southwest First Lane in Cape Coral, Florida. We'll stay in the south. We'll head to Cape Coral. All right.
So why this property, Adam? What's significant about this one? I know the answer, but I want you to say it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this was another deal I was able to lock up a few months ago, and it is currently now listed as a for sale by owner. So
by us, right? So we actually bought this property with cash. Haven't done anything to it. We just listed it on the MLS or on Zillow as for sale by owner. Just hit the market. It is priced to sell, so we should make some money, but it's priced to sell, so it should move quick too. But all right, let's dive into this thing.
All right, we're going to go over to the comparables, and we'll go check our MLS. And again, date range is already set up. The square footage is there. We're going to go to 0.3, bring it into the subdivision. All right, so in Florida, in these subdivisions, we got to keep in mind, like, being on water and so forth sometimes raises the value of the property. More often than not, raises the value of the property. So again, we want to make sure, like, we're comping properties that don't have waterfront footage and so forth. And this property does not have, it's not on the water either. All right, so we have 17 properties. If we just put in our quick numbers and filters there, and we're going to jump over. These are all in the same subdivision. We can see the average price per square foot really, really quickly is at 176, but the average sale price is 353. However, if you go to the MLS data, is this going to show us? Okay, so it was listed at 219 a couple years ago. This is a super hot market right now. You can see that the average sale price, the average price per square foot is really, really high. And if you go to our listing on Zillow, you'll also see that it's priced to sell, as John said. So, all right, so we got ours at 91. I'm going to look for outliers at this time to comp it against, right? So we see a $7.36. I'm going to throw that out, and then the 350 or 349. All right, I want to take some of these outliers off. They don't necessarily need to be in the comp. All right, so now we're down to 180, and at this point, for this property, I have to look at pictures. Like, pictures are going to tell me, like, what ballpark I need to be at, and then I'm also going to look at the price or the date as well that it was listed. All right, and then Same
What
thing.
about your built? Wasn't there some new construction in this neighborhood too? Because oftentimes new construction will go higher. I can't remember if there was, but I think there may have been.
Yep. Yeah, there was definitely. Yeah, you're built. Yeah, so that's a good thing. Like 2018, 2015, and then
What's our house? When was our house built?
ours is in 2009, which is
Okay.
still on the very new end of this subdivision as well. But there are some new builds happening outside of this actual subdivision. So yeah, we're gonna jump into pictures. I'm gonna see, hey, like what does our house look like? Um, you can see the curb appeal landscaping, pretty typical for South Florida. Looks nice. Same thing on the inside. We're just gonna make sure, like, hey, it's all right.
That's my favorite picture. I always say if I can only see one picture of a house, I want to see the kitchen. You can tell so much by just that kitchen picture.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We got the stainless steel appliances. It looks like we got potentially some higher end countertops. Cabinets look like they potentially could be updated, but based off of the year of the other homes, I would imagine they look very, very similar. Okay, so you can go through these. Again, they all look good. There's nothing that stands out as like an eyesore to me. And then the first comp. All right, and this one sold for $337,000, or that's the estimated value, I should say, on this property. Definitely looks like they had a photographer come in here, and this is probably like the first picture that was taken after it was built. So probably not a real accurate picture of its current condition. All right, so this would be something like it would be compared to. Again, it looks like it was gutted. There's no flooring. It looks like the trim is ripped up. All right, house needs some work. Yeah, still super dated. As you can see, it almost looks like a gym locker room in that picture. But yeah, kitchen definitely not as nice as ours, right?
So we don't have to go through each of these pictures, but just talk me through how you would continue doing this to narrow it down.
Yeah, I would keep going down. I know this one. So this one was comped at 144. It last, or wait, I'm sorry. This one was at 174. So I know our house is valued more than 174. That's what this one sold for last. So I would probably jump down to the 293 mark, somewhere in there, and start there. I would skip over the $500,000 house. That's an outlier. But yeah, I would really look at pictures and try to compare it the best I can, and get that price per square foot dialed in. It's definitely more than it was in 2009.
Nice. I like it. I think that's a great explanation. I'm going to try to remove that so it's just us. All right, let's wrap this up. What are your kind of final words about comp and properties, Adam?
Yeah, comp and properties. So don't go off of your gut, right? If your gut tells you like, hey, you need to get a partner to look at this comp, do so. It only takes a few minutes for someone to look at it, kind of like double check your work. Use Zillow as like a sounding board. It's not the be all do all, but if you need to use it because that's your free platform, then by all means use it. Look at comparables sold. And then last but not least, like we've definitely had comps where we're like, man, we don't know. Let's have a realtor go to the property. A lot of people in our space view realtors as like some bad person that doesn't like us, but that's definitely not the case. There's realtors out there that'll walk through the property. This one specifically, we had a realtor there at the walkthrough. We knew we would likely want to take the property down ourselves. And she was able to go in there, give us her assessment. She's local. She knows the area. She knows the values of the property. And she was able to give us a really, really accurate comp that we need.
Nice. I like it. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm getting an echo. But bottom line, if you like this video, if you like all our videos, we're doing our best to improve lives through real estate. Get on our cash buyers list. We've got a mastermind. We've got some other educational stuff coming. Let us know if you like this stuff. Let us know if you got more ideas for videos. Adam, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
All right, take care.